When the wild winds howl, and the blizzards rage, this underground sanctuary, built for the extreme cold, is undoubtedly the safest doomsday shelter. With its spacious interior, it not only features 2 rooms and a hall, but also a 75-degree bedroom that doubles as a sauna. After sweating out every toxin from your pores, you don't have to worry about predators outside. Living in here provides a full sense of security. Last winter, Jukai built a shelter out in the wild, attracting over 23 million viewers. He originally planned to stay for just a few days, but ended up trapped in the mountains by a heavy snowstorm. A few days turned into the entire winter. Now, as spring arrives in the new year, he has returned to the site. Everything is just as he left it. The entire shelter remains largely unaffected, and the interior is still dry and tidy. This is great news for Jukai. This time, he plans to expand. He wants to build a spacious living room at the front. Since the current bedroom is a bit too cramped, it's hard to even roll over while sleeping. With that in mind, he immediately got to work, quickly digging out a suitably sized foundation. He also sawed off the logs stacked under the eaves to prepare for the room extension. Jukai had just gotten into the zone when 2 neighbors showed up to watch. Luckily, the bears weren't interested in him, so his life wasn't under threat. After that, he hauled in some raw logs from nearby, simply stripped off the bark, and dug deep pits near the entrance to firmly plant the pillars. This thickness will ensure the shelter remains sturdy. He used the same method for the other logs, flattening them out slightly to construct the cabin walls. Of course, he laid a waterproof layer underneath first, to prevent mud and water from seeping in. With every layer he stacked up, Jukai added insulation cotton on top, and filled the rear gaps with mud. This maximizes protection against the cold wind. When exhausted from the daily grind, his favorite hobby is fiddling with his trail cameras and scattering some food for the beasts. After all, the forest is desolate in early spring, and the animals often struggle for food, barely eating every few days. Once he was rested, he continued working on the unfinished walls. With his previous building experience, his speed was noticeably faster this time. In the blink of an eye, Jukai finished 2 sides. He then used the dismantled boards to piece together a makeshift bushcraft bench and table. Grilling meat here during breaks feels amazing. Even with just these half-finished walls, sitting inside gives a sense of safety. After eating and drinking his fill, it was time to rest. With the warmth of the blazing fireplace inside, he could even leisurely read a book, feeding his mind some nutrition to. As time moved to the second day, the temperature was only 10 degrees. He gathered many logs early in the morning to seal up the remaining walls. Although working alone is strenuous, Jukai overcame the difficulties and persevered. After all, he has a whole family to support. The responsibility on his shoulders kept him going. To make life a little better, he needs to work hard building this home and attract more fans to watch. To achieve this goal, he not only put effort into construction and refined the building details, but also pursued better visual quality. He constantly experimented with different camera angles. However, to his regret, the footage from his old phone was poor quality. It would blur with even the slightest sunlight. So, he painfully spent a fortune on a new phone. But this purchase drained much of his savings. What's worse, the shooting process only lasts a few days. So, buying new, at full price, isn't cost-effective. Honestly, he didn't need to waste that money. Instead of buying a pricey new phone, for short-term use, renting from a reliable platform is much smarter. Like RenRen Zoo, where you can rent new tech dirt cheap. They offer same-city delivery for Apple products. Guaranteed next-day arrival. Rent with confidence. Cameras, computers, tablets, they have it all. It saves money and is reliable. When the wall reached waist height, he took a moment to install a 4-corner window. To ensure the living room gets light, to make sure nothing goes wrong, he secured every log stacked above with large nails, bodding, maximizing the sturdiness of the walls. These logs weigh 100 pounds, making them exhausting to move. But the thought of having his own home made Jukai grit his teeth and push through. The prepped logs saved him a lot of time. He also plans to install stairs on the side, so he doesn't have to worry about soil erosion from rain. Maybe Jukai was feeling lazy today. as he only finished the first wall by nightfall. The next day, he was woken by the morning sun. Seeing the wild boars working hard, he was filled with motivation. First, he dismantled the original stairs, dug holes using the same method, placed the load-bearing pillars, and built upwards following the roof's curve, until it was flush with the surrounding walls. Since the last wall needs a main door, after installing the pillars, he grabbed the pre-made door frame and nailed it in place as the entrance. He filled the remaining parts with logs. Being in this natural oxygen bar made Jukai feel tireless while working. With his great stamina, he didn't even break a sweat. To celebrate the new home being halfway done, he had a lavish dinner. But the drifting scent of the food attracted the black bear from the other day. However, the bear didn't have the guts to approach. The protection of the bonfire meant he didn't have to fear for his life tonight. Next up was installing the floor for the cabin. Otherwise, the muddy sand bottom would deform after being stepped on. He took several square beams, painted them with anti-rot coating, and after they dried naturally, laid them evenly across the living room ground. Using this as a base, he installed the wooden planks one by one, with the sturdy joists underneath. The floor sits high above the ground. This filters out moisture in summer and blocks the cold air in winter. The whole process was like a puzzle, looking both fun and satisfying. He didn't skip the stairs at the entrance either, ensuring the interior and exterior styles matched, and effectively preventing the earth walls from collapsing. Once paved, the result was impeccably clean and tidy. By the time he finished, autumn had arrived. The whole land was about to turn desolate. Jukai, feeling no rush against time, slowly filled in the insulation cotton, laying the groundwork for future saunas. Living in the forest, he often sees animals. And all sorts of strange mushrooms. Only an expert could tell if they're edible. Another day, he bought a fireplace from town and placed it in the planned corner. Then, choosing the right spot on the wall, he sawed out a hole for the chimney. He installed fireproof materials at the connection points, or else the temperature would get dangerously high. Once Jukai had the heating system installed, he immediately lit a fire to test it, and to burn off the new stove's industrial oil. That stuff needs plenty of burning to clear out. Even though he was all alone, he stared into the fire until dark, then lay down in the shelter for a peaceful rest. Building the rest of the roof was much simpler. He just had to set the outer logs first, and drive iron nails into the joint. After repeating this countless times, a perfect slanted roof was complete. Of course, insulating the top was essential, as most heat is lost through the roof. Once done, he laid a layer of silver foil, which locks in heat and filters out rainwater. Considering the aesthetics of the shelter, he hauled buckets of moss from nearby. This stuff is nature's camouflage, excellent for both looks and insulation. With 4 layers of insulation on the roof alone, you can see how meticulous Jukai is. The lush green color looks incredibly soothing. That night, snow suddenly began to fall, and the temperature dropped near freezing. But a shelter, providing this much security, was enough to guarantee Jukai's safety. Not to mention, with 2 stoves firing at full blast, the interior temperature soared to over 30 degrees. He could even sleep in short sleeves. After settling overnight, the whole world outside turned white. He had worked overtime last night to finish the main door, and now it was ready to be used. His hands are as precise as a ruler. The size was a seamless fit. to prevent sparks from the fireplace hitting the room. He covered the surrounding area with fireproof cotton. Since the whole cabin is made of wood, he didn't want a fire to burn all his hard work to the ground. Knowing how cold winter gets, he used his free time to stuff insulation into the walls and stockpile more firewood, preparing for the coming temperature drop. The freezing weather made the wood extremely hard.